back to yet another Plastigon review. In this series of reviews, we are going to review Machine Wars. Yes, Machine Wars. Why? Because I have them all. Anyhow, we're going to break over to the table and check them out. Taking a look at our first Autobot, this is Prowl. Prowl is a F1 racer in this line. Not a police car, although he still has the white and black. It's actually a pearl white. Very, very, very cool looking car. It's got a lot of decals on him. It's fairly cool. These are all stickers, by the way. When you do purchase these guys, they normally have to have the stickers applied. Every now and then you actually find them where they're already applied. Obviously it says Prowl right there for you. I like this chopped up lettering they got going on here. It's kind of like he kind of just found like a label or something, just threw it on there. Fairly cool. Very neat. Has a really, really cool looking appearance. Although you think maybe they could have probably put a little bit of paint detail here in the wheels, but yeah, I'll look past that. It is kind of weird though that we have no silver at all here in the middle. We actually have a silver pin here in the middle that's holding these, so very cool. He also has a yellow seat here in the middle, which the gimmick is supposed to work by pressing this. Fairly hard to do. Actually hurts my finger. So what I normally do is I lift up gently on this back portion and then let go. And that pretty much is his transformation. Move his arms out and then unpeg the legs. Prowl's actually kind of cool. It's got a lot of detail here and looks fairly cool. Prowl's got a very interesting looking head sculpt. It's very, very cool looking. I do enjoy the way this is designed. It's got this nice little white stripe right here, and if they would have put light piping it would have been even better, but it does have silver eyes in there. Very, very neat. Very cool. I do enjoy this head sculpt. Moving on, he also has storage for weapons stored within his legs as well. This is actually kind of a cool touch. Makes you wonder why they don't do it nowadays with the newer bots where the hollow bits are. But place together his little rifle, which is easy to get mistaken. As you can see, this just kind of just slides in like this. Doesn't really stick. Flip it around though, it does. It forms a barrel. Fairly cool. And then just plug it into his hand. And there is Machine Wars Prowl. Moving on to the next one in the line is Hubcap. Oddly, Hubcap is not a car in this line. Very, very weird that they actually picked this particular Autobot, considering he's not really that popular. Anyhow, in this line he is a tow truck. It's got a lot of cautionary signs here all the way throughout the entire thing. These are stickers. Very, very, very cool. It does have this nice Kenworth look in front. It's kind of cool. Could be a Peterbilt, but it's got to be one of the two. I know it's not a Mack, but really, really neat. He does have a hook back here that doesn't really do anything at all, and the robot kibble, well, yeah, you can clearly see a pair of fists in the back. And, well, visible head syndrome. But when it's driving around like this, you can't really tell. It's kind of cool though. Anyhow, he does have an automorph gimmick. All you do is you pull up on the hook on the back, and you let go, and he just springs to life. Kind of push these in the rest of the way, and then you can move his arms up into position. And then unpeg his legs. And there he is in robot mode. Hubcap also has another gimmick. The entire grill comes off, then flips up to become his gun. This is a very unique way of storing the gun system on a big rig truck. Although I do kind of find it funny that he really doesn't have ability to look over the light bar very well. As you can tell, he's got a very cool looking head sculpt. It's got a lot of detail in there, and it is slightly picked out with a little bit of orange, but not much. Although sadly you can't really look over his grill, but you have to push that to the side because of the transforming gimmick. Moving to the next one of the line is, you guessed it, Mirage. Very, very cool looking car. This is a very interesting choice on the paint on this one. Mainly because this is very G1-ish. It's got a lot of logos on here. These are stickers. It's very cool. Really, really, really neat. And he actually has his name right there on the back. I do like the way they did this right here because it's almost like it's a scan line kind of thing. He does have a black seat in the middle that you're supposed to press to release the mechanism, but it doesn't really work very well on these. It's fairly old. These do roll extremely well. I forgot to mention that on Prowls, but these things do roll extremely well. They're very, very well built. The robot kill is pretty much non-existent on the bottom, which is kind of cool. Although you can kind of tell there's a couple of arms and legs there, but to me, I think you're just kind of stretching it. Anyhow, transformation, it's like I said, just kind of lift up on this pin here on the back. And this peg right here is actually what pins into the very back of it. It just kind of wedges itself into this little crevice down here, and when it does that, it locks in position. Anyhow, kind of just springs to life. Just separate his legs and move up his arms. Mirage's head sculpt is a lot like Prowl's. Very cool. It's very white, so the silver actually pops quite a bit here. And it does have this nice little teal stripe going on there on the head. That way it kind of blends the head in, but it's a very, very cool looking sculpt nonetheless. He also has a really, really cool storage system, just like Prowl. I do enjoy these storage systems on these. It's a very clever way of hiding the weaponry so that way you don't really lose it, because it's actually got its own built-in storage. So So we don't have to worry about shoving him in a Ziploc bag or anything. But there he is. Moving on to the last Autobot of the line, the small ones, is Hoist. He's got this Trailbreaker paint scheme going on here, accented with this odd-looking brown, which could almost be a rust color. Very, very, very cool. Does have your Wilkinson Towing written right there on the side. Very, very neat. Do like this truck a lot. Although hubcap has the same mold, I think this black actually works better. Would have been a little cooler if they would have added a little more paint detail other than just painting in a little bit of grill, but then again, it probably could have took away from it. Anyhow, moving on to transformation, just lift up on the little hook on the back, and then let go of it, and there you go. Just move his little arms up. And unpeg the legs. And there's Hoist in his robot mode. Hoist also has this little gimmick where the gun comes off and flips up, then you can simply peg it into the hand. Let me show you the head sculpt. The head sculpt's very cool on this one. I do like the idea that there's a little bit of a orange looking stripe going across his head, which is a little different than hubcaps. But the silver in there kind of gets hindered by all the sea of black that's going on. But he's still a really cool bot. Moving on to the flyer of the Autobots here is Sandstorm. Sandstorm is a military helicopter. Kind of reminds me of a Cobra chopper. It does have translucent blades that spin. It's a very, very, very cool looking helicopter. It's got a lot of molded detail throughout. Very cool. It does have a translucent cockpit, which you can see the head back here, but you can't really tell what it is. It's very interesting. Very, very cool. Now, the interesting thing about this particular mold, this was used during the Turbo Masters, which was a European series that was released at the tail end of Generation 1. It gets kind of mistaken for G2 because of the silly colors, but he does share the same mold. It's a very, very interesting looking helicopter with his spinning blade gimmick, and he also has another gimmick. When you push this little gold button back here, he does have deployable guns. The deployable guns on this one do not fire. The original did. We have yet to figure out why the gimmick was gutted, considering you can actually see the big gaping holes where the triggers would have been. But nonetheless, a very, very, very cool looking helicopter. Transformation for this guy is fairly easy. Just simply fold the blade in half, fold down the landing gear, split the tail, push the tail bits directly into the slots, grab the legs, pull them down, flip out the feet, fold down the arms, fold back the tail, flip down the cockpit for the head reveal. As for Sandstorm, he really doesn't have much articulation. He does have ratcheting hips and knees, although this is just kind of weird. He is able to sit because he's got this propeller sticking out on the back, but you're not going to get much articulation out of this guy, mainly because there's a pin between his knees that keep him from moving. He also has ratcheting arms, but they only move out like this. They don't twist or anything. And also no moving head. But for a redux of a Generation 1 mold, it's still very cool. Has a lot of molded detail and looks very awesome. It's definitely a buy, especially if you're trying to finish the Machine Wars line, or if you're just into brick bots. Tune in tomorrow, and we're going to cover last, but definitely not the least, of the line. Obviously, you guys know what's coming. See you tomorrow. Moving on to our very last Machine Wars line bot is none other than Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime shares the same mold that was during the Turbo Masters line. This is the Thunderclash mold, with some slight retooling and a complete different color scheme. Obviously, Prime's colors. But a very, very cool bot indeed. This entire truck mold has a lot of detail. A lot of sculpted stuff throughout the entire thing, like this crazy engine sculpting here. And the simple fact that they took the time to actually mold so much into this is just unbelievable. Although there are sticker applications throughout it, all the way, it's still a really cool truck. This is almost a play school type of feel, especially with these odd looking wheels. These wheels don't even have tires on them, they just look like little rims that he's running around on. But still, really cool. It's a very neat looking truck. Here is Optimus Prime in his truck mode. Very cool looking bot. I do like this truck. This is very neat how this looks, because this almost looks like a European futuristic type of vehicle. Although it looks as if the headlights are up here and those are fog lights. Kind of interesting. Really cool. It is kind of weird that he has this kind of just sticking off the back, but you have to kind of forgive it. But anyhow, transformation for this guy is fairly easy. Even a kid could do it. Oh yeah, one other thing, that is just a really awesome looking logo. I really enjoy this logo on here. With the Autobot emblem in the middle of this light. It's almost like a Guardian crest. Very interesting. And he does have these little things here on the sides, which I guess you could call those guns. Some people just call them horns. Transformation goes into moving the feet down, raising up the front of the cab, spinning around to the back, and folding down this panel to flip up the head, coming to the front and splitting the cab in half. Grab his fists, hold them out, fold down the chest piece, then flip up the head. Optimus Prime in his robot mode looks kind of odd and didn't even bother to really do anything for the head sculpt. They just repainted the whole thing. It's a very neat looking robot though. It's kind of weird though. Oh yeah, flip up this back. He does have ability to hold a gun, which comes off of his trailer. His trailer has 3 guns here in the front. These 2 firing missiles. Then you have this portion here. This comes unpegged and will successfully peg into his hand. Moving on to the trailer gets fairly large. It's got a really cool gimmick. First off, when you press this white button on the front, it will allow you to flip down the cannons, not like Sandstorm. On the sides here are these little bitty black tabs that you use to fire. And yes, that hit my desk. That's how hard they fire. They fire very far. As for the missiles, they got a lot of molded detail built into them. They're very thick and chunky, which really shows that this was more or less a play school type of toy. Not to mention the size of the plus that the missile plugs back into. As for the trailer though, the trailer's got a lot of molded detail. So much detail throughout it. It's got these odd looking panels here at the bottom. Very cool. Obviously the G1 feel going on here. It's got these really weird looking windows here, which kind of tells me this must be a larger battle platform, or those are just lights. Very cool. It's even got like sculpted detail here. This is part of the battery that's on the inside, but it's kind of neat that they actually have molded detail on this side of it as well. Very cool. It does have a center wheel down here to kind of help stabilize it, so you don't have to worry about the bits having to come down in order to stabilize it. But it doesn't have any kind of flip down gimmick or anything like that. Moving on to the back, it says Transformers right there on the back, molded into the plastic. It's kind of funny because Thunder Clash had the same thing. This is something that they started carrying over because they're moving into the G2 line. Also, the sight that's on him, a lot of molded detail within that glass. I do know it's dusty in there. I apologize for any of that because these guys are kind of hard to clean sometimes. But anyhow, let's move on to its transformation. It has a bit of parts leprosy here at the beginning. You have to pull this entire portion here off. And that's something else I like to do. Just grab this entire portion here and unclick it and pull it completely off. Now grab it by the back of the entire trailer and then fold it all the way out. Angling these down, they are on ratchets. Pull down these large stabilizing feet pad. Then open up the gun battery and pull it up, taking the large portion off the top of the trailer and then pull up the top of the tower. After that, you will flip down the back of the tower. Reinstall the top portion of the battery, then reinstall the tailgate into the back of the two holes. Last but definitely not least, fold out the handles. As you can tell, the battle station for this thing is extremely huge. Has a lot of height to it, and it's very, very cool. It really stands for a nice battle station to just use for any of the Autobots, or even the Decepticons. The gimmicks on this thing that were robbed from the Thunder Clash was missiles that were able to be loaded into the two chambers here to be able to flip out, roll down, and fall into here, be triggered by pulling the portions on the back of the cannon out to actually fire them. This no longer has that, where it was just install two missiles with spring-loaded gimmick and then just fires. Prime does have the ability to stand on the battery itself. It's kind of funny seeing how Optimus Prime just stands back there to gun this entire battle station. Very interesting, and it is kind of cool. He is able to hold the triggers with both hands, or just hold his gun in one hand and fire with the other. But yes, his eyes do line up with the targeting system on this. It's an interesting look at a really, really cool looking toy that should have seen more repaints, especially back during the day. This is the last one of the entire Machine Wars line. So, onto my final thoughts for the entire line. Personally, I believe this line is one of the most underrated lines that have been in the Transformers universe. It's really cool that BotCon decided to go through and do a whole homage to the whole Generation 2 and Machine Wars line. And personally, I believe these things are still highly collectible. Now, if you guys don't really prefer these kind of transformations, I completely understand. But you do have to admit, it's a very cool line, and it's brought on some really cool kibble. Anyhow, this has been Plasticon, and this has been yet another review. And this is me signing off. Peace out, you guys.